Hey guys, welcome back to more family drama Reddit stories. In this Ripe Stories video, my parents gave my brother everything growing up. The best gear, the best apartment, the bailouts, but they gave me nothing. I was the black sheep, except the job of caring for my grandma alone for 10 years. So when she left me $350,000 and the house, my family lost their minds. But what they did after I paid off their medical debt is what broke me. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is titled, Narcissistic Parents Demand I Give My Inheritance to My Golden Child Brother. So for my entire life, my older brother was always the favorite in the family. My parents never tried to hide it. If my brother wanted to play a sport, they bought the best equipment. If I wanted to join a club, they told me it was too expensive and I should just focus on my homework. My brother was always praised for the bare minimum that he did, while nothing I did was ever quite good enough. I got used to being the background character in my own family. The only person who truly saw me was my grandma. She was my dad's mom. We spent a lot of time together when I was growing up. She taught me how to cook and how to stand up for myself. She was my safe space. When my grandma started showing signs of cognitive decline, it broke my heart. She started forgetting little things at first, like where she put her keys. But soon it progressed to forgetting to turn off the stove and getting lost on her way to the grocery store. It became obvious that she could no longer live alone in her big house. My parents held a family meeting to discuss what to do, and their solution was immediate and cold. They wanted to put her in a state-run facility and sell her house to pay for it. My dad said they were simply too busy with their own lives to take care of an old woman. My brother just nodded along, playing on his phone the whole time. He lived in a nice apartment downtown that my parents helped pay for. He made it clear that he would not be volunteering his time. I refused to let them lock her away. I was just finishing my education and working remotely, and I told them I would move in with her and be her full-time caregiver. My parents actually laughed at me. They said I would not last a month, and they agreed to let me do it only because it meant they did not have to deal with the problem themselves. So that turned into 10 long years. Taking care of someone with dementia is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's a slow, painful process of watching someone you love fade away. I managed all her medications. I set alarms on my phone for every pill she needed to take. I drove her to every single doctor appointment and kept detailed logs of her blood pressure and weight. I cooked every meal because she could no longer use the kitchen safely. I bathed her when she could no longer do it herself. I woke up at all hours of the night when she would wander the house confused and terrified, thinking she was late for a job she retired from 30 years ago. I gave up going out with friends, I gave up dating, I put my entire life on hold to make sure she was safe and loved in her final years. During those 10 years, my parents and my brother were practically ghosts. They would show up on major holidays for a few hours and they would take smiling photos with my grandma to post on their social media pages to show everyone what a loving family we were. Then they would eat the food I cooked, complain about the smell of the house, and leave. My brother never once offered to sit with her so I could take a break. My mom would just criticize how I was folding the laundry or tell me the house looked dusty. Not once did they offer me financial help for groceries or supplies. I paid for everything I could out of my own small remote salary, and grandma's Social Security covered the rest. Eventually, my grandma passed away peacefully in her sleep. I was devastated. I had spent a decade of my life with her as my main focus. The house felt entirely empty. My parents took over the funeral arrangements and made the whole event about themselves. They cried loudly and accepted condolences from all their friends, acting like they had been by her side the entire time. I just sat in the back, too exhausted and heartbroken to care about their performance. A few weeks after the funeral, we were called to a lawyer's office for the reading of the will. My parents walked in looking very smug. My brother was actually talking about what kind of new car he was gonna buy. They all assumed my grandma had left everything to my dad or split it between him and my brother. The lawyer sat us down and read the document. My grandma was a very smart woman. She knew exactly what my family was like. The lawyer explained that she had updated her will several times over the last few years. She brought in an independent attorney and her primary care physician each time to sign affidavits proving she was of sound mind and not being coerced into doing anything. She even recorded a video of herself stating her exact wishes. She made sure the will was completely ironclad, so my parents could not contest it. She left her vintage jewelry collection to my mom, she left her old sedan to my brother, and she left the house fully paid off and her entire savings account to me. The savings amounted to exactly $350,000. My dad turned red, my mom started shaking her head, my brother slammed his hands on the table and demanded to know if this was some kind of joke. The lawyer calmly explained that it was not a joke. He handed copies of the paperwork across the desk. My grandma had left a letter attached to the will. The lawyer read it out loud. It simply said that she was leaving her assets to the only person who actually treated her like a human being when she needed it the most. My family exploded. They yelled at the lawyer, they yelled at me, my dad accused me of manipulating a sick old woman, and my brother called me a thief. I didn't argue with them, I just signed the necessary paperwork, thanked the lawyer, and went back to my house. For the next several months they gave me the silent treatment. I didn't mind. I used the time to grieve, rest, and slowly start fixing up the house. I took down the hospital bed in the living room and painted the walls. I invested the money safely in a mix of index funds and bonds, and I was finally starting to figure out who I was outside of being a full-time caregiver. Then the medical emergency happened. My dad collapsed at work. He suffered a major heart issue. He needed emergency surgery and a long hospital stay. It was a terrifying situation. Despite everything they had done to me, I still loved my parents, so I rushed to the hospital and sat in the waiting room with my mom and brother. We actually bonded a little bit during those scary hours. We drank terrible vending machine coffee and shared updates from the doctors. For a minute it felt like we were a normal family. And my dad pulled through, but the aftermath was a financial disaster. My parents had terrible health insurance. They had left their premium coverage lapse a few years prior because they were constantly bailing my brother out of his financial mistakes. He had tried to start a luxury sneaker resale business that completely failed, and my parents took out a second mortgage to cover his debt instead of paying the insurance premiums. Because of their bad insurance, they were hit with a massive medical bill. The out-of-pocket cost was over $100,000. My mom called me a few weeks after my dad came home and she was crying hysterically. She said the hospital was threatening to send the debt to collections. She said they were gonna lose their house and that my dad's wages would be garnished. She told me my dad was so stressed that his blood pressure was dangerously high and she was afraid that he was gonna have another heart attack just from the anxiety. She begged me for help and she said I was the only one who could save the family. She told me that she was so proud of the person I had become and that she realized she had not always been the best mom, but she loved me and needed me. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I fell for it. I spent my entire life craving their approval. I wanted them to look at me the way they looked at my brother. I wanted to be the hero for once, and I convinced myself that this was my chance to fix our broken family. And yeah guys, let me know in the comments, what would you have done if you were in OP's situation? Would you have helped your entitled family in this case? Let me know what you think in the comments, and while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even leave some star emojis in the comments if you want to support me. Thanks a lot. So if I saved them from financial ruin, they would finally respect me and treat me like an equal. I went straight to my bank the next morning. I did not hand my parents a check because I wasn't stupid, and I knew they might use the money for my brother instead. So I sat down with a banker, got the hospital's exact routing information, and initiated a direct wire transfer for the full $100,000 to clear the balance. The banker printed out a thick receipt confirming the wire had gone through and the hospital account was credited. It wiped out almost a third of my cash inheritance in like 5 minutes, and when I called my mom to tell her the debt was cleared, she cried again and thanked me profusely. My dad even got on the phone and said that I was a good kid, and for exactly 1 week I felt like I belonged in my own family. I felt a sense of peace that I'd never experienced before. That peace was shattered on a random Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard loud knocking at my front door. I opened it to find my mom, my dad, and my brother standing on the porch. They walked right past me without even saying hello and went straight into the living room. My brother immediately sat in my grandma's favorite armchair and put his muddy shoes up on the coffee table. I asked them what was going on, and my dad crossed his arms. "Paying that hospital bill was a nice gesture," he said, his tone completely flat, "but let's be honest, that was just you paying back rent for living here for 10 years for free. It's the least you could do after monopolizing my mother's time." I stood there frozen. "What are you talking about?" My mom sat down on the sofa and opened her purse. She pulled out a thick stack of papers and slid them onto the coffee table. "It's a quitclaim deed," she said, tapping the top page.
Your brother is ready to start a family and he needs a house. You're single without a family and you have no real expenses. We also have a bank routing form here. We need you to transfer the remaining $250,000 into a joint account under my name so I can distribute it to your brother for his new business startup. She looked at her watch, acting like this was a routine business meeting. Sign the deed. We have a mobile notary waiting in the car down the street to make it official. Do it for your brother, OP.
I honestly thought I was hallucinating. I had just wired $100,000 to save them from bankruptcy, and now they were sitting in my living room demanding everything else I owned. The sheer entitlement was just breathtaking. My brother smirked at me from the armchair. "Don't be selfish," he scoffed. "You don't even have a real career, OP. Grandma would have wanted the money to go to the true head of the family anyway. Just sign the paper so we can get out of here." The audacity of his words finally snapped me out of shock. The illusion of the loving family shattered completely. I realized they did not view me as a son or a brother. I was just an ATM to them. The tears and the gratitude from last week were completely fake. They just played on my empathy to get the hospital bill paid, and now they were back to their old tricks, trying to secure the rest of the price for the golden child. I felt a cold, calm anger wash over me. I didn't yell, I didn't argue. I walked over to the coffee table, picked the papers up, and dropped them directly into the trash can. "Get out of my house," I said. My mom gasped.
Excuse me? You don't speak to me that way. You owe us for raising you."
My dad stepped forward, puffing out his chest to try and intimidate me like I was a teenager again.
"You're gonna fish those papers out of the trash and sign them right now, or else you will regret it."
I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, keeping my thumb hovering right over the call button. I held the screen up so they could all see it clearly. "You guys got 30 seconds to get off my property," I told them, keeping my voice dead calm. "If you're not out of that door by then, I'm hitting call and I'm telling the dispatcher that there are 3 hostile trespassers in my home refusing to leave." My dad's face turned purple. He pointed a finger inches from my nose. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life." 20 seconds, I replied, not breaking eye contact. My mom grabbed my dad's arm. She knew I was serious. She pulled him towards the door. My brother stood up, gave me a disgusted look, and muttered that I was crazy, and they walked out. And my mom yelled from the porch that I was dead to them. I locked the deadbolt the second the door closed behind them. I leaned against the wood and took a deep breath. I knew this was not over. Narcissists don't just walk away when they feel entitled to something. They view boundaries as a personal attack. I knew they were gonna retaliate and I needed to be ready. I didn't wait around for the next move. The very next morning, I called the estate lawyer who handled my grandma's will. I told him exactly what happened. He advised me to immediately place the house into an irrevocable trust. This is basically a legal structure that removes the house from my direct personal name, making it impossible for my parents to try and forge a lien against the property or attempt any shady legal maneuvers to claim ownership. I paid the lawyer his fee and we got the paperwork filed that same week. While I was locking down my assets, the harassment began. My phone started blowing up with text messages and voicemails from aunts, uncles, and cousins. My parents had wasted no time spinning a massive lie to the rest of the extended family. They told everyone that I had stolen my brother's rightful inheritance, kicked them out onto the street, and refused to help pay for my dad's medical care. I had cousins calling me a monster. I had an aunt telling me I was going to hell. I didn't reply to them individually. I didn't try to argue or defend myself. I decided to use the nuclear option. I created a massive group text message and added every single family member who had contacted me along with my mom, my dad, and my brother. I typed a very short message. Since there seems to be some confusion about my financial contributions to this family, I'm clearing the air once and for all. Please see the attached document. Don't contact me again. And then I attached a clear high-resolution photo of the wire transfer receipt from the bank. The receipt clearly showed my name, the date, the hospital's billing department info, and the massive $100,000 transfer amount. It was undeniable proof that I had saved them from ruin. I hit send and then I went into my phone settings and blocked every single number in that group chat. I don't know exactly what happened after I sent that text, but I can imagine the absolute humiliation my parents felt when the entire extended family saw proof of their lies. You cannot argue with a bank receipt. The flying monkeys stopped instantly. No one tried to contact me from unknown numbers anymore. The silence was immediate, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house anymore. I mean, the memories were too heavy, and I knew my family knew where I lived. The physical location was a vulnerability. A month later, I contacted a real estate agent and listed the house for sale. Because it was fully paid off and in a great neighborhood, it sold quickly in a cash offer. I did not tell anyone that I was moving. I just packed up my belongings, loaded a moving truck, and left the city entirely. entirely. The escrow company wired the proceeds of the house sale directly into my accounts. Combined with the remaining $250K from the cash inheritance, I had a very comfortable safety net. I moved to a quiet town several states away, and I bought a modest, beautiful little house with cash. I have no mortgage and I have no debt. Furthermore, I changed my phone number and deleted all my old social media accounts. I'm now completely no contact with my parents and my brother, and I've been building a clean, quiet life. I started my own consulting business using the skills I learned from my remote jobs over the last decade, and my business is thriving because I finally have the energy and time to dedicate to it. Through a mutual friend who I occasionally speak to, I heard about the fallout of all of this. Without my money to bail them out, my brother's new business idea completely collapsed. He defaulted on his apartment lease and was forced to move back into my parents' cramped spare bedroom. My parents are still struggling with their second mortgage and are miserable having their 30-something-year-old golden kid living at home, eating their food and complaining about the Wi-Fi. They are all trapped under the same roof, stewing in their own toxicity. I sacrificed my 20s for my family, and it cost me $100,000 to finally learn the truth about them. But the peace and freedom I have now is worth every single penny. And yeah guys, honestly, imagine dropping 100 grand in cash to save your parents from total bankruptcy, and their immediate reaction the very next day is to pull up with a mobile notary waiting down the street to steal your entire house. I feel so bad for OP. I would not wish such entitled awful parents on anyone. Overall, I'm really proud of OP for finally standing up to these entitled parents. I mean, OP gave 10 years of his life caring for his grandma while they did absolutely nothing. Props to OP for being such a good person. And a user on Reddit said the following: "You are not the a-hole for this, not even remotely. Your grandma left you the house and money because you were the one who actually showed up. You did the hard, ugly, exhausting work of caregiving while everyone else posted for holiday pictures and then disappeared. You handled everything perfectly. You told him to leave, you protected your assets, and you exposed the lie with proof." Now we have another Reddit comment that says the following: "Everyone sucks here, though your family obviously sucks a lot more. Your parents and brother are cartoonishly entitled. They abandoned your grandma, let you be her full-time caregiver for a decade, and then had the audacity to act like you owed them the inheritance she deliberately left to you. However, you also made some questionable decisions here, and overall, your family sucks for exploiting you, your brother sucks for being a freeloading golden kid, and your parents suck for weaponizing guilt and treating you like an ATM, but you suck a little for making a six-figure emotional decision and then acting like there was no possible way to see this coming." And now another Reddit comment that is slightly more unhinged. "You are the a-hole, and honestly, I know Reddit is gonna eat up the evil narcissist family gets owned angle, but I cannot get past the part where you had $350K, a paid-off house, and enough financial literacy to set up investments, but somehow you still decided to drop $100K on your parents' medical bill and then act shocked that the same people who ignored you for 10 years continued being selfish. Like at some point, you are not just a victim of their behavior, you are actively enabling it." And yeah guys, let me know what you think about these opinions in the comments. I would love to know what you think about this story. And the next one is from r/entitledparents and is titled, "The parents at my daycare pulled something so unhinged, I still cannot believe it happened in front of everyone." So I work at a small private daycare and we have this one kid, let's call him Brody. He's 4 years old and honestly one of the sweetest kids in my group. His parents though are a whole different story, and I've been biting my tongue for months, but last week they finally did something so completely over the line that I have to talk about it somewhere. Brody's mom, EP mom, has always been the type to hover. She would show up 20 minutes before pickup and just stand outside the glass door watching us, which is fine technically, but she would also send 4 or 5 messages a day asking if Brody ate his snack, and if he napped, if anyone touched him wrong, if he washed his specific cup the specific way, she showed us. Normal concern taken to a completely different level, but her husband, EP Dad, is somehow even worse. 2 weeks ago we had a little spring showcase, just kids singing a few songs and doing a craft for the parents. Nothing too big, every single kid got a small ribbon just for participating, same ribbon, same color, just a little keepsake. After it was over, EP Dad walked straight up to our director and said loudly, in front of like 8 other families, that Brody should have gotten a different ribbon because he was clearly the most engaged and the other kids were just standing there. The director explained it was just a participation token for every kid, and EP Dad actually said, "So you're telling me my son gets the same thing as the kid who picked his nose the whole time?" Out loud in front of everyone, including the mom of the nose-picking kid who was standing literally 2 feet away. That mom looked like she wanted to dissolve into the floor. I felt so bad for her. EP Mom then jumped in and said the showcase was poorly organized and that Brody had been practicing his song at home for 2 weeks and deserved recognition beyond what the
other kids who clearly didn't prepare got.
The director stayed calm, but I could see it in her face. After they left, 3 other parents came up to her just to apologize on their behalf, which honestly says everything. I don't know how much longer I can watch this without saying something to someone because Brody is going to grow up thinking this is how the world works, and that genuinely worries me more than anything his parents do to us. And the next one is another entitled parent story, which is titled, "My mother-in-law decided my lactose intolerance is
a face I made up to avoid her cooking."
So for some context, I've been lactose intolerant my entire adult life. Not severely, I won't die, but I'll spend the next 6 hours feeling absolutely miserable and I genuinely cannot function. I have managed it fine for years. I just read labels, ask at restaurants, keep my own stuff at home. It is not too dramatic, it's just a thing I deal with. My husband's mom has known this since we started dating 4 years ago, and she has never once commented on it. I thought we were fine, but last month we went over for Sunday dinner and she made this big creamy pasta thing. I asked quietly, just between us, if there was any way she had a portion without the sauce or if there was something else I could eat. Very calm, very polite, she looked me dead in the eye and said,
"Oh, I think you can handle a little cheese. You always make such a big deal out of nothing."
Well, suffice to say, I was so caught off guard I just kind of stared at her. My husband stepped in and said he would grab something on the way home for me, and honestly I was fine with that. I was not trying to start anything, but then she announced to the whole table that I was refusing her food and asked everyone if they thought that was rude. His aunt, his cousin, his dad, all just sitting there watching. I said very quietly that I wasn't refusing anything, I just cannot eat dairy, and she said,
"Well, my son eats everything I make just fine."
Which like, okay, I mean he's not the one who gets sick. We left early. She texted my husband later that I'd embarrassed her in her own home. He was supportive, but I could tell he didn't fully know how to handle it, and that part honestly stung more than what she did. The thing that gets me is that she's never been outright mean before. This came out of nowhere, and now I'm wondering what else she's been thinking this whole time and just not saying. And yeah guys, I would say this story would perfectly fit on r/justknowmother-in-law as well. But yeah, it was posted on r/entitledparents. And the next one is an interesting petty revenge story. It starts like this. So I got my first big tattoo today. I've been planning it for years and was really excited about it. My family are not super into tattoos, but I sent it to our group chat anyway. My mom, who is often nasty for no reason, responds,
"How much did that cost you? Send me my money."
I never borrowed money, I just needed physical cash a few days ago, and my mom had some, so she gave that to me and I bank transferred her back. She obviously didn't see the transfer. Okay, but I mean, is it hard to ask nicely? Anyway, I was so salty, I politely point out that I actually sent it already. She ignores me, no worries, but I'm still quite annoyed. About an hour later, she messages me asking how to log into my Apple TV. I recommended a TV show and gave her my login details last week, but she was having issues logging in. I did not open the message and instead chose to sit in my little petty satisfaction bubble. After a few frustrated messages, I stop hearing from her, check my Apple TV app and see that yes, she managed to log in and had started watching the TV show. I've watched it and I know that it hooks you so good in the first 15-20 minutes, on the edge of your seat waiting to find out what's happening kind of thing. Well, what do? I waited till I know she would be super into it, log into my account, change the password, log out of all devices, and not even 2 minutes later, she is messaging me on all platforms trying to get me to help her to log in, like fully blowing up my phone with messages. I have not opened a single message, stayed inactive on all platforms, and she will think I'm asleep. I'm really sitting here kind of scared, I don't know why, but I'm absolutely exhilarated. And yeah guys, I suppose OP could reset the password back to the original one, then play dumb, and repeat that every 10 or so minutes. That would be an evil, petty revenge. Thank you for watching, I will see you again tomorrow.